So, good evening, everybody. Today I was supposed to do a hangout with a friend that didn't work out, so I decided to do a short video after having a remarkable encounter with a woman today who really spoke to my spirit. Um, so, as many of you guys know, I work in hospice care. I'm a hospice nurse, and so I visit patients in their homes when their family members are transitioning. Some patients, stay on our service for a long time, and some, kind of come on and pass pretty quickly. So that's kind of what I do. It definitely keeps me very humble and very in tune with life and death and how precious life can really be. And so in this whole process of, being a hospice nurse and working in this field, I've started to become a lot more serious about my practices and meditation and praying and really watching what I pray for and watching what I ask for and making sure that I'm really being grateful for the time that I have here on this earth because it is so precious. And so today, when I went to see one of my patients, um, I was speaking with the family member, and she just started speaking into my spirit. And it wasn't something that I asked. I didn't, say, oh, I need some advice. It was just kind of a conversation that flowed. And she just really began to speak a lot of wisdom about marriage and about love, and about happiness. And, some of it I shared on my Facebook about her really just saying that, the words I love you really bring you back to what your relationship is all about between you and your husband. She said to um, basically stay in a marriage as long as you love that person, because that's all that really matters. So all of the outside things that bother you or aggravate you or unnerve you, those things don't matter as long as you love that person, because you're not going to find anyone better. You may find someone who's similar, or maybe someone who's even worse. So don't lose out on the great love that you have between each other just because you don't like something about that person or something's not working out. And she was saying, do you have children? And I was like, I do have a son. And she was like, I have a grandson. And I tell him, go home, take care of your family. That's where you're supposed to be. And even if the marriage is hard, you have to be there for your children. And for me, it really spoke to my spirit because I have always sometimes questioned, like, what am I doing? Am I doing this right? Is this is this right? Marriage is so hard. And I think sometimes, people are like, oh, I want to be married. I want to be married. And I understand people really want companionship. People want love. People want stability. And I respect all that. But sometimes when people say, I want to be married, I really, look at them and I'm like, do you? It's hard. It's really one of the hardest things other than being a parent, that I feel like I do every day, because you're just not taking care of yourself anymore. You're really taking into consideration someone else. And so I think some of these questions may not have come out of my mouth to anyone per se lately, but there were just always some questions that are in my spirit, in my conversations, in my meditations, in my prayers about just marriage. Did I make the right decision? Was this, was I ready? Should we have waited? What should we have done to, prepare ourselves for this relationship? And, she said to me, you'll never know a person until you marry them. You have to get to know a person. The reason why you and your husband have so many problems is because you don't know each other. But when you get to know that person, then eventually, all you won't have as many problems as you think you have, or you'll have other problems. She was like, but at the end of the day, when you're fussing and you're upset, look at each other and say, I love you, and see how that brings you back to each other. And I just sat there and I looked at her. And in that moment, I really felt like I saw God. Like, just everything about that moment was so spiritual. It was something that I didn't expect. And, it's like she snapped out of it and she kind of started talking about something else. She fell asleep during my visit, and then that was it. And it was like, God had come through this woman to speak to me through her and answer so many questions that have kind of sat at the bottom of my heart for a very long time. And, I host a Google Hangout with some of my friends called Marriage Matters, where we talk about different aspects of marriage. And that really has opened up all of our eyes and all of our hearts and really opened up some discussion that we kind of would have never talked about if we never sat down and really started discussing some of these aspects of our long-term relationships and our marriages. But today, I really just felt confident that I made the right decision to get married when I did. That, despite the fact that it's so hard, it's so difficult, it's not always easy, that it was right for us, for our son, for each other. I think that, sometimes we question the decisions we make because things don't turn out perfect, but at the end of the day, things are better than what they could have been. And so I know growing up, sometimes we've learned, I know I learned in my household, you don't question God, never question God. But sometimes I feel like when I ask God questions, he may not answer today or tomorrow, but he always answers. And it may not come the way that you expect it, but it'll come. It'll come through your child, or it'll come through a friend, or it'll come through a TV show or something. If the answer that you're looking for is there, you just have to be ready and open and, accepting of what is being said to you. So I just encourage everyone to, never stop asking questions, to really continue to say why. My son asks me that all the time. Why, mommy? Why? Where are we going? What are we doing? What's going on? And so, I really encourage people to ask those questions, because sometimes you get the answers that really clarifies things in a way that wouldn't have clarified things if you weren't bold enough to say why, or was this a good decision, or questioning the steps that you have taken. I question, should I have gone to law school? And then God will open an opportunity that says, yes, you should have gone to law school, even though it doesn't look right in this moment, like that was the best decision. For whatever God has, tomorrow or next month or 5 years or 10 years from now, I needed that foundation right now and set in stone, so that when that opportunity comes, I don't have to backtrack and say, oh, shoulda, coulda, woulda, or feel like I missed out on something because I didn't do what I know I wanted to do at that time. So, as I sit here with JD and I'm not using it, and I'm like, God, was this a good decision? All this money that I invested, and he's just saying, just wait, you'll see. And so, I really encourage all of my friends out there who are just doing so much, just continuously growing and moving and pushing and taking chances and risking and taking huge risks and leaps of faith, that sometimes you may get to a point where you're in a position and you feel like, oh, this wasn't the right decision, to know that God will answer your prayers. He will answer your questions. He will assure you that you are where you are supposed to be, doing what you're supposed to be doing, and to really just stay encouraged, even in the darkest hours, of the toughest moments, of your lowest points and your valleys. That no matter what, you are where you're supposed to be, and everything is going to work out for your good. So, I just ask that you keep your eyes and your ears open. And, if you really truly seek the answers and the desires of your heart, that God will send, he will come through someone, and he will tell you what it is that you need to hear to assure you that, yes, you made the right decision. It may not look like it, it may not feel like it, but at the end of the day, it is. So stay encouraged, be encouraged, and, I'll be praying for you.